When describing motion, human movement begins from the anatomical position and is described as taking place in a plane about an axis. A plane can be discussed as a flat surface, while an axis is a straight line around which an object rotates. Three basic reference planes are used in anatomy. Sagittal planes lie vertically, are parallel to the sagittal suture, and divide the body into left and right portions. This term is Latin in its origins. Sagittal means like an arrow, a reference to the position of the spine. More specifically, the mid-sagittal or median plane would be located at the spine and in the midline. For example, the median plane would pass through any of the midline structures such as the navel or the spine, and all other sagittal planes are specifically referred to as parasagittal planes and run parallel to that median plane. Another plane that lies vertically is the coronal or frontal plane. However, it divides the body into posterior and anterior portions. The third plane lies horizontally and is referred to as the transverse plane. It is also known as an axial plane. It divides the body into top and bottom portions. As stated earlier, human movement takes place in a plane about an axis. There are three axes that we will be discussing: the frontal horizontal axis, the sagittal horizontal axis, and the vertical axis. When a person is walking, that individual is moving in the sagittal plane. It can be also described as moving about a frontal horizontal axis. Other examples of moving in the sagittal plane about a frontal horizontal axis would be performing a squat or even a leg raise. All of these movements can be classified as either extension or flexion. If a person is performing jumping jacks, they are moving in the frontal plane about a sagittal horizontal axis. Other examples of moving in the frontal plane about a sagittal horizontal axis would be a cartwheel or working the adductor muscles of the inner thigh. These movements can be described as either abduction or adduction. The last axis left to discuss is moving in a horizontal plane about a vertical axis. If an ice skater spins, they are moving in a horizontal plane about a vertical axis. Other examples may be shaking your head no, or twisting the spine while the feet are planted on the ground. Moving in the vertical axis requires rotational movements. To recap, flexion and extension take place in the sagittal plane about a frontal horizontal axis. Abduction and adduction take place in a frontal plane about a sagittal horizontal axis. And rotation takes place in a horizontal plane about a vertical axis.